SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government with GAP.
All right. I want to welcome everybody to Senate Appropriations. And at this time, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, make sure everybody's phones are off, and I would ask everybody to take a seat and have your phones, of course, turned to silent. If you plan on testifying today, please sign in at sdlegislature.gov, press the people icon next to the agenda on the home page, and fill out the form. Or you can do it directly on your phone by scanning the QR code on the agenda. And I'd ask at this time, Secretary, would you call the roll?
Senators Miskimmons. Here. Philhauer. Here. Carly.
Here.
Boyda. Howard. Foster.
Here.
Zickmund.
Here.
Lapke. Otten.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay, we do have a quorum. And Senator Zickman, do you have a motion for us?
I do.
Senator Zickman has moved to approve the minutes. It was seconded by Senator Vilhauer. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, minutes stand approved. And I'll remind everybody, the testifiers, please sign in and make sure that you're wearing your badges. Reminder, testifiers that the handouts are to be distributed by the pages. And at this time, we've got 2 new pages, so would you go up to the mic and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know your parents are listening, so any boyfriends, girlfriends?
Good morning. I'm Ryler Stivix. I am a senior at Gregory High School. Next year, I plan to attend Mitchell Tech to do the Build Dakota Scholarship for Architect and Construction.
Hi, I'm Olivia Moffett from Hot Springs. I'm a junior, and I am applying to Southern New Hampshire University to go and pursue a business degree and then go to law school in Florida.
Very impressive. All righty. Any personal privileges at this time? All right, reminding everybody that all testimony and questions are to be addressed through the chair. And this morning, we will start out with HB 1089, to modify the distributions of revenue collected from the severance taxation on new permits. Good morning. Identify yourself and you may begin.
I am Mary Fitzgerald, District 31, Lawrence County. It's an honor to be here. I served my first 2 years in the state legislature in House Appropriations, so I respect each and every one of you for your service. I am here on the behalf of House Bill 1089, an act to modify the distribution of revenues collected from severance taxation on new permits. I would like to start with a little background. The city of Lead was officially founded on July 10, 1876, following the discovery of gold in the area. In 1935, a mineral severance tax was established to offset the impacts of mining on the local community. After a tax law change in 1989, Lawrence County began receiving 20% of the mineral severance tax revenue, while the remaining 80% was allocated to the South Dakota State Treasury. This tax applied to all mining companies operating after the year 1981. Although Lawrence County continued to receive its 20% share, a $1 million cap was placed on the county's total distribution. That cap was reached in 1994. Since that time, Lawrence County has not received any additional mineral severance tax revenue. So for the past 32 years, 100% of that mineral severance tax has been allocated to the state of South Dakota. During that time, more than $100 million has been deposited directly into the state treasury. House Bill 1089 proposes a modification to the current law regarding the distribution of mineral severance tax revenues. The modification would affect new entities permitted to sever minerals after July 1st, 2026. With 80% of the revenues collected to be deposited into the state treasury, while 20% would be distributed to the county treasurer in the county where the metals are severed. While this bill applies only to new permits, it has the potential to benefit not only Lawrence County, but other counties across the state as well. Without this framework in place, local governments would face the impacts of mining activity, increased road use, public safety demands, infrastructure strain, and community growth without a modernized revenue structure to help offset those costs. So I'm here today asking for your help and asking for your favorable consideration. Thank you very much for your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you. Other proponents for HB 1089? Other proponents? Good morning. Please identify yourself and you may begin. Mike, your mic.
Chairman and the committee, thank you for having me here. Real quick, I'm a lifelong resident of City of Lead, born and raised. I worked at Homestake Mining Company for 27 years. I never thought when I was a kid at 18, I knew about the severance tax, never thought nothing of it. Can't believe I'm here today trying to make things better for us. Let's start out. My name is Dennis Schumacher. I'm City of Lead building inspector. After I left Homestake, I went to the county for a little while, and now I'm working for the City of Lead. I've been the City of Lead for almost 21 years. I'm here to talk about partnership, how we can share a piece of the pie when it comes to severance tax in South Dakota. In communities like City of Lead, located in Lead, Lawrence County, we understand both the opportunity and the responsibility that come with resources. Development, mining has shaped our history, built our infrastructure, and continues to influence our future. The severance tax exists because when natural resources are extracted, there is an impact on roads, public safety, housing, water systems, and long-term planning. Right now, the structure of the severance tax distribution leaves local governments carrying the significant share of those impacts. While the majority of the revenue flows elsewhere, I'm not here to argue against the state's role. The state has obligations too. Education, healthcare, public safety, statewide infrastructure. We all have responsibilities. I'm here to propose this partnership. An 80-20 model where 80% supports the broader needs of the state of South Dakota and 20% returns directly to the county and communities where the resources and extraction occurs, would create the balance. It would recognize that while resources belong to people of South Dakota, the impacts are felt mostly by the local government. When heavy equipment moves across our local roads, it's our local departments that respond. When workforce housing pressures increase, it's our cities that must address the zoning, utilities, public services. And when emergency services are needed, our local responders answer to the first call. Returning a fair portion without restricted cap ensures communities like Lead and Lawrence County can reinvest in infrastructure, stabilize property taxes, and plan responsibly long term. This is not about taking more from the state, it's about aligning the revenue with the impact. And I want to be clear, this is not just a one-sided request. If the state is willing to share the piece of the pie with the community that bear the direct impact, we are willing to work collaboratively. We are willing to ensure accountability, transparency, and responsibility stewardship of those dollars. We are willing to demonstrate that when local communities are strengthened, the entire state benefits. Strong counties build strong states, strong cities support strong economy. When we invest where impact occurs, we reduce long-term liabilities and create substantial growth. This proposal is about fairness, it's about foresight, and most importantly, about partnership. I respectfully ask the committee to consider an equitable severance tax distribution, a model that recognizes both statewide priorities and local realities. If we share a piece of the pie with each other, South Dakota as a whole will be stronger for it. I have bought 2 more pies back here for the committee to share if you are willing to share with us. If not, the big boy over there gets it. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Other proponents for HB 1089? Other proponents? Good morning. Please identify yourself and you may begin.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Robin Lucero. I'm with the City of Lead. House Bill 1089 is a forward-looking policy that updates the distribution of future mining severance tax revenue so that a portion can remain with the host county. This bill does not create a new tax. It does not increase the tax rate. It does not affect existing mining operations, permits, or contracts. It does not change environmental or permitting requirements, and it has no fiscal impact to FY 2026. It does not reduce the general fund revenue at all. As Dennis noted, the severance tax exists because when these natural resources are extracted, there is an impact. And as Mary stated, this tax has been in place since 1935. And for the last 32 years, none of this tax has helped us at the local level. House Bill 89 does not change the tax structure for any existing mining operations. It simply removes an outdated cap for future activity, restoring the original intent of the severance tax, aligning local impact with local investment. Many of you visited LEAD last year during the Joint Appropriations West River Tour, and we enjoyed hosting you at our historic Opera House on Lead's Main Street and sharing our story with you. Lead is a historic mining community built on hard work, resilience, and long-term responsibility. The city of Lead was a true company town, and since Homestake has closed, we have been working hard to build it back up. But we have been left with significant infrastructure needs due to taking over ownership and maintenance of the outdated systems. The same approach of resilience and hard work is what guides our request to you today. We have a deepened relationship with our state leaders that helped us to stay the course with our mission on this. For the past 3 years, we have worked with legislators and the Bureau of Finance and Management, listening to feedback and refining this proposal. The Bureau of Finance and Management is neutral on this bill today. The result of that collaboration is a bill that's limited, responsible, and fiscally neutral in the near term. There is no loser in this proposal, and the opportunity for us at the local level is a win not only for us, but the entire state. As Dennis stated, strong cities and counties build a strong state. Feedback from the House Appropriations Committee called this bill fair and a creative solution. We've had 0 opponent testimony. It passed unanimously through the House Appropriation Committee 9-0, and also unanimously on the House floor 65-0. We're not asking the state for new funding, only the opportunity for host communities to share modestly if there is future revenue generated from the activity that we directly support. House Bill 1089 is fiscally responsible, and it restores the original intent of the mining severance tax. As I had said, this marks our 3rd year participating in this legislative process here in Pierre. We have learned a great deal about laws and policy change. We are grateful for the opportunity to have learned this and participate in this process. We've learned a lot, we've seen a lot, and watching the work of this body has reinforced our respect for the care and consideration that goes into these decisions, and we've seen the hard work that you all do. We sincerely hope that this is a proposal that you can support, one that allows you to feel confident that you're making a meaningful difference for South Dakotans. Pass a bill that makes you feel good. This legislation will truly make a significant impact in our community, and we thank you for your time, your service, and your consideration for a yes vote on this. I will also stand by for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Other proponents for HB 1089? Other proponents? Last call for proponents of HB 1089. Seeing that we have a few on the air, see Mr. Smith. You may begin in a second. When you hear me say 30, that means that you've got 30 seconds left, and wrap her up. You may begin.
This is Sherry B. Smith, and I believe I'm more of a Ms. Smith than a Mr. Smith so far. Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak in support of House Bill 1089. I am a native of Lead and a resident of Lawrence County. I'm a registered nurse and pretty embedded in the community, having grown up as a lifelong Black Hills resident, with the exception of a few years out in the flatlands of Clay County. But growing up, I observed the impact of the boom and bust of the of the mining industry at large. I grew up with Whitewood Creek running black from the contamination of Homestake Mine, which was then accepted as the norm. Luckily, things changed in the 70s, and with societal and government focus on protecting the environment and population health, the industry of mining has really shifted, and you can see in some areas there's partnering and there are still challenges ahead. The industry of mining does impact the community, and it's only appropriate that local governments receive this proposed allocation from the severance tax. This will mitigate the impact of mining. There's big impact on roads, water, and providing an infrastructure to support an expanding workforce. It's essential that these local governments do receive support and funding from this severance tax. In Lawrence County, I came back to from the Southern Hills to the Northern Hills about 20 years ago, and already then businesses were struggling to recruit employees because of the lack of housing available. The application or the allocation of the severance tax to the local governments will help build infrastructure and support communities that can then provide the workforce to sustain mining, and it's to the benefit of all. And those that don't live in the Black Hills love to come visit the Black Hills. So you don't have a tourist industry without a decent infrastructure. I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much for taking up this important proposed legislation, and would ask your support of House Bill 1089.
Thank you, Shirley. Anybody else online? Either one? All right. Yeah, we'll give it a second here. All right. We will move on then. Any other proponents in the room? And with that, we will shut down proponent testimony and we will move to opponents. Opponents of HB 1089. Last call for opponents, HB 1089. Seeing none, we will skip rebuttal. Looks like you've done your homework. I love this. And we'll move on then to questions from the committee. Senator Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll admit to being a little confused on this, so I would like some explanation on that. But what are we talking dollar-wise in the future? So rough estimate, like in the past 5 years, how many new permits have there been? How much revenue has come in new annually, so we could kind of, push that forward maybe?
Robin Lucero. The flyer
Please
here.
identify yourself.
Robin Lucero. The flyer here is the severance tax that's gone into the state general fund. This is only from one mining company, which is Core Wharf. It's the only current mining company that we have that's mining gold, and they've been permitted for quite a few decades now. We have had no new mining permits. And so these figures here are from one company.
Have there been any talk about new permits being issued?
We do have one company, Robin Lucero. We do have one company in Lead, and their name is Dakota Gold. And they are in the exploration stages. They don't have a definitive date if or when they would start mining. They do have an economic impact that's out on their website that was done from the University of South Dakota in 2024 that talks about their, they had a economic analysis done that talks about future mining and things like that. And so really the only thing I could say about what the dollar amount would be is that the gold mines are taxed. They have 3 taxes that they pay right now, 10% of their gross net profits and $4 an ounce, and then an additional $4 an ounce if gold is more than $800 an ounce. And so of all that taxes, 80% would go to the state and 20% would stay local for if and when there was a future mining company that were to get a permit.
Senator Vilhauer?
Mr. Chair, I need to have a couple terms explained to me. The proposed bill makes reference to 80% of the revenues collected. I'm zeroing in on the revenues word. When I go to the flyer, it talks about net surplus or net revenues. That's 2 totally different things. What are we talking about? Which would this allocation be based upon?
Robin Lucero, the flyer here is describing the dollar amount that has been paid to the state for severance tax, which right now is 100% of the severance tax going to the state. Where it says surplus revenue, that was just looking at the budget numbers for this year. And so because the price of gold fluctuates, the amount of tax that's paid also fluctuates. And so the estimated revenue in the state budget for fiscal year 2025 was $9.8 million. That's what was in the budget. And due to the price of gold being so much, the actual taxes paid is $13.8 million. So in fiscal year 25, there was a $4 million extra surplus in that severance tax due to the tax amount paid due to the price of gold.
Follow up? I appreciate the explanation, doesn't quite answer my question though. Is it based upon a net profit or a net revenue, or is it based upon a gross revenue, which is what House Bill 1089 seems to indicate that it is? You understand my question?
Yes, yep, Robin Lucero. The tax that they pay is 10% of their gross net profits. So whatever they report for their gross net profits, they pay 10% of that, plus however many ounces they sever, they pay $4 an ounce on that, ounces severed, plus an additional $4 an ounce. So they take all of that, and that is what the severance tax is.
Follow up again. I'm sorry, still doesn't. So this allocation would be based upon the net after paying the taxes, or is it based upon the gross as it's sold and mined and sold? I'm sorry, I'm an accountant, so that's why gross revenue versus net revenue is 2 totally different numbers for me. So that's why I'd like an explanation on that.
Mary Fitzgerald, District 31. I think it's the total amount is what we're looking at. And we've been so kind as to kind of break it down so that you can understand it more thoroughly. But it's whatever they pay to the state of South Dakota, that's the number that we're looking at. And I just want to remind everyone that this bill would affect mines after July 1st of 2026. So I think we're being very respectful and cautious and just kind of looking forward to try to have some dollars available to mitigate the effects of mining in the community. And this would affect other counties too, wherever there's mining.
Okay. Thank you, Representative. Follow up yet? Look, you said Dakota Gold is in the exploration stage. How long, from exploration to actual mining, typically does that take?
Robin Lucero, not an expert on that, so I'm not going to speak to how long that would take. They would have to get a new permit, which is regulated through the state and DENR. So they have quite a few things that they would need to fall in place before they would go from exploration to mining.
One more follow. The reason I'm asking that question is that your flyer says no fiscal impact to, or fiscally neutral for fiscal year 2026. Okay, we're working on the 2027 budget. Can I infer from your comment that there would be they would not be up and running and for fiscal year 2027?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Senator Howard?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So you guys have a couple of times mentioned the costs of the mines, the roads, although there haven't been any new mines recently, so I don't think that's really an issue yet. But do you guys have other options available? I mean, why not just at the local level impose a road tax or some other way of having, if Dakota Gold comes online, imposing a tax on them to cover any additional costs that you may have at the local level?
May I answer? Mary Fitzgerald, District 31. I think WRF is expanding all the time, is it not? And so there is quite an impact on the area, on the county. There really honestly is. It's and maybe you know more about that, can comment more about the size of WRF and their expansion.
Robin Lucero. As Mary said, WRF is expanding and they are located in the county on a state highway. So it impacts mostly the state road that gets up to WRF. In the city of Lead, we have looked at raising some sort of tax or a fee that we could to help with infrastructure. And so we partake in the bed and booze tax. Our sales tax is at its max. We have, I feel like done our due diligence to figure out if there is a local way to raise more revenue. We're also limited by there's a law for cities that can only raise our city taxes by 3% plus growth. So we can't necessarily raise our property taxes. So we haven't identified a new tax or a different tax as a city that we could implement to help.
And not that I'm advocating for a new tax. I'd rather you cut spending and deal with the expenses that way. But you did just mention something interesting. So you said WRF mostly is impacting a state road, but we're going to be losing state revenue in the future. So then how does that help us?
Yeah, this would be basically last year when we were here, what the law is now is it's an 80-20 split, 80 to the state, 20 to the county with $1 million cap. And when we were here last year, we tried to get the cap raised to $3 million. That would have been to account for inflation from 1989 until now. And we were met with opposition from the BFM and legislators, because that would fiscally impact the state budget. It would take away revenue from the state. And so when we went back to the drawing board, that's where we came up with the idea that if this was for only future mining companies to not have that tax, to not have the cap would allow a portion of that revenue to stay at the local level, which hasn't been happening. So that's how we got to where we're at with the wording for the bill.
Mr. Chair, if I could answer too.
Go ahead.
I don't have my notes in front of me.
Please identify yourself.
Mary Fitzgerald, District 31. It's my understanding, I don't have my notes in front of me, that this mineral severance tax was started in around 1935. And at that time, they knew that this was going to have an impact on our county. And it has had a tremendous impact on our county in many, many different ways. The city of Lead is old. They have problems with their infrastructure, their water, their sewer systems. I just think it's important to look at the idea that I think the county, the area, should receive some mineral severance tax. These minerals, valuable minerals, are being extracted from our county, and basically the county isn't really receiving anything because of that. So I think that's very important that back in 1935 they started this. And there was something else I was going to say about the severance tax now, but it slipped my mind. But I just think, I think it was during the Great Depression. I think the gold mines of Leeds, South Dakota gave over half of the state's budget to the state, those dollars, to keep the state afloat during the Great Depression. So we've helped out the state a lot, and we're just asking maybe in the future that we could receive some of those funds to help benefit our area, our community. Thank you.
Other questions from the committee? Senator Foster.
Thank you, Chair. So the state's gold severance tax has not increased since 1994. And that's about the same time that the community share was eliminated, right? There was a bill earlier this session that would have increased the state severance tax. Did you guys support that or have any communications with directing those funds locally to address this?
Robin Lucero, the bill that was presented earlier to raise the severance tax, we were against that because Wharf Gold Mine is the largest community partner that we have in our area. They provided, I think the dollar amount was about $300,000 in 2025 to different community organizations, our Boys and Girls Club. They really are the biggest community partner that we have, and that legislation would have increased the tax that they paid by quite a bit, that would have been able to cut back what they could help us with community-wise. And that bill also did not change this distribution at all, so all of that revenue from that tax would have continued to go to the state.
Senator Zickman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, here we go with another cutout. I had some of the same questions the two senators across from me have, and I guess your information tells me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that last year we got somewhere around, or this last year we got somewhere around 13 million. This says close to 10 million here, and then you commented about a little over 13 million. Am I correct there? Okay, so second question. If that is true, and you've got with 1 million, or you've got down here, you have a 1 million in cap, but if you take 20%, to me that really should be somehow rewritten or whatever. But can you tell me what the state will actually get after you take the 20%? How much will the state be getting? Is that 1.1 million, or is it 2 million? I'm not clear on that. Maybe I don't probably understand it, but.
Yes, thank you. Robin Lucero, the way the wording of this bill works is it will not affect the tax that Core Wharf pays. So they will continue to pay 100% of their revenue to the state. So this law change would only be for a new mine. So if Dakota Gold came on board and they got a permit and they were permitted to mine, that any new permits would pay 80-20 with the split going to the county. And so this law would not affect Wharf. 100% would still go to the state from Wharf. And for example, if Dakota Gold came on mining, if they were to have paid $14 million in severance tax in 1 year, 2.8 would stay local and the rest would go to the state. I am not an economist on gold mines or anything, but I would think that a new mining company would take some time to where they would get to the state of a mine that Wharf is, where they're producing quite a bit and they're well established. So that's probably a high amount that a new mining company would pay right away. But right now, If there are no new permits, there is no new revenue. And so this would be for only new permits, that would be the 80-20 split.
Follow up, Mr. Chair. And also I heard that you have maybe one that's requested a permit or possibly one that's requested a permit, and this wouldn't take effect until July 1st this year. So I guess I had the same question as the good senator across from me. Is that going to impact any that we were expecting to come into the state's budget?
Robin Lucero, no, the Dakota Gold has not started the permit process with the state to be a new mine yet. And so as far as I know, and in our conversation with BFM, they are not anticipating any revenue from a new permit for the budgets. And if I had to guess, I would say maybe 2029, 2030 would maybe be the earliest that Dakota Gold would mine if they could. But I don't represent them at all, so I'm not speaking on their behalf.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Miss Gibbons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I might have the answer. This is a future plan, and as a family that used to do mining claims, you never know where those deposits might be in the county. So it may not be on a state highway. It may be on any of the county roads. And so I think this is a plan for wherever they may find the opportunity that those roads would be restored and help would come and be shared between the state and the county.
Senator Vilhauer.
Mr. Chair, how do you define a new permit? So, for example, Wharf expands their mine, opens up a mine in a little bit different location. Is that a new permit or need new permitting?
Robin Lucero, I can't speak on that directly. I know that they have the one permit that Wharf has, they've been operating under since they started operations. I believe it would have to be a separate location, and then that requires a new permit through DENR.
How long have they had that permit?
I believe since at least, the way the law reads that we're trying to change, any mining company that was permitted prior to 1981, which was homestake, 100% of that tax went to the state. And then in 1981, they reformed this tax law. And then in 1981, any new permit was the 80-20 split with $1 million cap. And that's when Lawrence County had Wharf Mine, Richmond Hill, Gilt Edge, several mining companies at that time, and they were all subject to the 80-20 split with $1 million cap. And that happened in 1989. Lawrence County met the cap in 1994. So what this does is any new permits after 2026 would be the 80-20 split again, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Senator Carley.
Thank you, Chair. This mentioned affecting permits. What about a number of mining operations around the state use licenses instead of permits because of the type of what they're extracting?
Robin Lucero, this would be according to 1039, which is the gold distribution law. That's how the wording has been for all of the previous laws that are written in there, is for permits. So that's what we went with. I think the gold permitting process is different than the other mineral processes, and they follow a permitting process through the state.
Okay, and so if someone is extracting limestone, gravel, that other type, you're saying these are only for hard rock mineral extractions?
District 31, Mary Fitzgerald. May I answer, Mr. Chair? Ours are precious metals, which are like gold and silver.
All right. Senator Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What have we taken on as far as the state or the federal government goes already? Because I know we have one Superfund site, which I believe is in Lawrence County. What's the process of that cleanup? How much is that costing? And is the state paying for any of that? Or is that totally a federal government responsibility? But there is a concern that, you know, we lose the revenue from this, but yet who's responsible for that cleanup down the road?
Representative Mary Fitzgerald, District 31. That's a federal government, the Superfund. And I guess we would have to look into a crystal ball to see if any mine does come about after July 1st, 2026. It's really hard for us to determine if they will, where they will mine, what they will find. But this is basically a forward-looking bill, just looking into the future. And so to try to guess, to try to find out what amount of tax the state would lose would be really impossible for us at this point, because maybe nothing will ever happen. So it's hard for us to determine at this point if the state would lose any money. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll close public testimony and we'll move on to committee discussion and/or action. Senator Vilhauer.
Mr. Chair, I move to pass.
Senator Vilhauer has moved to pass. It was seconded by Senator Miskibbins. Senator Howard?
Mr. Chair, I would have a substitute motion. I would move House Bill 1089 to the 41st day.
Is there a second on that? Senator Foster has seconded it. Who was second? Senator Zickman has seconded it. Any discussion? Senator Foster?
Thank you. I'm really torn on this bill because I went and I toured and I see the need for increased revenue there. I think that I would have much preferred looking at adding a tax to gold severance, because if you look at the prices increase, it's increased over 200% within just the last 5 years. And so changing this severance tax on a new mine incentivizes more destruction of the Black Hills. And that, I think that we're definitely as a state undervaluing our natural resources. And as a Lakota, I definitely don't want to incentivize more destruction of the Black Hills. So I'm torn on this because I do think that there's a local need. I don't like the way that with, Lead and other towns that really take on the brunt end of any type of economic development or development end up getting the short end of the stick. But I do think that I'm not a fan of incentivizing more mining of the Black Hills. So.
Any other comments? Senator Howard?
And thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'll just say I am concerned about the loss of revenue down the road. Regardless, this may not impact our budget this year, but it will impact our budget down the road. And, the federal government is beyond broke. There is a Superfund site. Yes, the feds are paying for that right now, but who knows if the state may have to step in the future and take over covering that. So, we have time. We can come back and look at this again, maybe tweak it. I don't know. I just am not a fan of what I see the loss in revenue down the road right now.
Okay, no other comments. Okay, Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Senators, Miskimmins. Vilhauer. Carly. Voida. Howard. Foster.
Aye.
Zickman. Lapke.
Aye.
Carly. Otten. 5 yeas, 4 nays.
And with that, and that was the 41st day?
Correct.
Okay. With that, HB 1089 has been moved to the 41st day. All right, we will move on. For our internet listeners, we have two quick bills, and these are vehicle bills. The first one is HB 1134 to make an appropriation for the economic development and prosperity of South Dakota. Can I get a motion?
I move to pass.
Senator Misgibbons has moved to pass on HB 1134. It was seconded by Senator Voida. Any comments? Seeing no comments, Senator, or Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
1 second. Senators Miskimmons. Aye. Vilhauer. Aye. Carly.
No.
Voida. Aye. Howard. Aye. Foster. Aye. Zickman. Aye. Lapke.
Aye.
Otten.
Aye.
8 yeas, 1 nay.
With that, HB 1134 is going to the floor. Next up would be HB 1135 to make an appropriation to enhance the economic health of South Dakota. Do I have a motion? Senator Voida.
Mr. Chair, I move due pass on House Bill 1135.
Senator Voida has moved due pass. It has been seconded by Senator Misgibbons. Any comments? Seeing no comments, Mr. Secretary.
Senators Miskimmons. Aye. Vilhauer. Aye. Carly.
No.
Voida. Aye. Howard. Aye. Foster. Aye. Zickman. Aye. Lapke.
Aye.
Otten.
Aye.
8 yea, 1 nay.
And with that, HB 1135, with the two-pass motion, is going to the floor. All right, that is it for today. We will most likely be meeting again on Thursday. There's a bill in education that may be heading our direction. And so with that, wow, mind readers. Senator Howard has moved to adjourn. It was seconded by Senator Voida. All those in favor of adjournment say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. We are adjourned.
SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from Pierre. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts Programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from Pierre. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts Programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota Legislature and in-depth reporting from Pierre. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from Pierre. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB celebrates South Dakota's student athletes with live coverage of SDHSAA state championships, sharing the excitement of hometown heroes. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. From choir to debate to theater, SDPB shines a spotlight on South Dakota's talented students through SDHSAA All-State Fine Arts Programming. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB is your home for fact-based journalism, connecting South Dakotans with news they can trust and stories that matter. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From children's programs to in-depth documentaries, SDPB sparks curiosity and lifelong learning in every South Dakotan. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB brings South Dakotans together, telling the stories that unite small towns, big ideas, and the people who make our state shine. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder. As South Dakota's public media network, SDPB serves everyone with transparency, integrity, and commitment to open access. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB helps shape South Dakota's future by educating, informing, and inspiring the next generation of thinkers, leaders, and creators. SDPB. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB serves South Dakota through an interconnected communication system that is on 24/7, 365. The first place for Amber Alerts, public safety announcements, and EAS messages. SDPB keeps public servants and citizens informed. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from Pierre. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. When South Dakotans need reliable information, SDPB is there providing updates and coverage that keep our communities safe and connected. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB.
Good morning. Welcome to the Joint Committee on Appropriations. I'm Representative Mike Derby. I'm the lead co-chair this year, along with my co-chair, Senator Otten. And as we do every morning, we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Senator Otten, will you please lead us?
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Senator. Like to welcome all of our internet listeners and those watching on South Dakota Public Broadcasting today. And as a reminder, please make sure your cell phones are off. And all lobbyists must be wearing badges for the organization they're representing. Testifiers must sign the guest register. And all testimony and questions will be addressed through the chair. At this time, I'd like to ask the secretary to please call the roll.
Senators and Representatives, Ms. Gimmons. Here. Elk. Here. Casson. Here. Moore. Here. Billhauer. Here. Carly.
Here.
Voida. Here. Jorgensen. Here. Howard. Here. Foster. Sharda.
Here.
Mucky.
Here.
Zickman.
Here.
Colbeck.
Here.
Norstrup.
Here.
Lapke.
Here.
Otten.
Here.
Derby.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you very much. Are there any minutes to approve? Representative Moore.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the minutes of Thursday, February 26, 2026.
Second.
Motion by Representative Moore, second by Senator Voida. Discussion on the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This time I do not see any pages in the room, and so we'll move to any introductions, personal privileges, or announcements. All right, seeing none. We are going to enter into the next phase of the appropriations process, and that is budget setting. And today we will have 5 budgets to set. We are deferring action on the state treasurer and the Department of Public Safety. So, the first budget to set is the South Dakota Retirement System.
Mr. Chair. Joey Konopchinsky, fiscal staff. What you see with the South Dakota Retirement System is no recommended changes by the agency or the governor. Same budget as last year.
Representative Mucky.
Mr. Chair, I recommend we approve the governor's recommended budget for the South Dakota Retirement System.
And we have a motion from Representative Norstrup.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move to set the budget for the South Dakota Retirement System at the level detailed in the South Dakota Retirement System motion sheet, which includes $6,537,548 in other fund expenditure authority and 35 FTEs.
Motion by Representative Norstrup. Motion by Representative Norstrup, seconded by Representative Mucky. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair, it seems like a great department that I would recommend we approve it. It's good to go.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Senators and Representatives, Ms. Skimmons.
Aye.
Elk.
Aye.
Casson. Moore. Philhauer. Carly.
Aye.
Voida. Jorgensen. Howard. Foster. Sharda.
Aye.
Mucky.
Aye.
Zickman. Colbeck.
Aye.
Norstrup.
Aye.
Lapke.
Aye.
Otten. Derby.
Aye.
17 yea, 1 absent.
The motion to set the budget for the South Dakota retirement system hereby passes. Thank you. Moving on, Governor's Office.
Mr. Chair, Joey Konopchinsky again. Like the South Dakota retirement system, there are no changes from the agency or the governor. Again, same budget as last year.
Representative Mucky.
I recommend we approve the governor's recommended budget for the governor's office.
We have a recommendation, Representative Norstrup.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move to set the budgets for the Office of the Governor, Governor Contingency Fund, the Lieutenant Governor, at the levels detailed in the Office of the Governor's motion sheet, which includes $3,148,360 in general funds and 22 FTEs.
We have a motion by Representative Norstrup, seconded by Representative Mucky. Discussion on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's widespread support for the motion as made, and I would recommend a green vote or yes vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Ms. Skimmons.
Aye.
Elk.
Aye.
Casson. Moore. Philhauer. Carly.
Aye.
Voida. Jorgensen. Howard. Foster. Sharda.
Aye.
Mucky.
Aye.
Zickman. Colbeck.
Aye.
Norstrup.
Aye.
Lapke.
Aye.
Otten. Derby.
Aye.
17 yea, 1 absent.
Motion to set the budget for the governor's office hereby passes. Thank you. Moving on to the school and public lands.
Mr. Chair, Joey Konopchinsky. With school and public lands, the governor did not recommend any changes to this budget, and there are no additional motion sheets.
Representative Mucky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recommend we approve the governor's recommended budget for school and public lands.
Thank you. Representative Norstrup.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move to set the budget for the administration of school and public lands at the level detailed in the school and public lands motion sheet, which includes $903,717 in general funds, $342,052 in other fund expenditures, expenditure authority, and 7.0 FTEs.
We have a motion by Representative Norstrup, seconded by Representative Mucky. Discussion on the motion. Seeing any further discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Skimmons.
Aye.
Elk.
Aye.
Casson. Moore.
Aye.
Philhauer. Carly.
Aye.
Voida. Jorgensen. Howard. Foster. Sharda.
Aye.
Mucky.
Aye.
Zickman. Colbeck.
Aye.
Norstrup. Lapke.
Aye.
Otten. Derby.
Aye.
17 yea, 1 absent.
Motion to set the budget of the administration of school and public lands hereby passes. Moving on to the Investment Council.
Mr. Chair, the State Investment Council asked for a number of changes, and the governor recommended all of those.
Okay. Representative Mucky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recommend we approve the governor's recommended budget for the South Dakota Investment Council.
Representative Norstrup.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move to set the budget for the investment of state funds, performance-based compensation at the levels detailed in the State Investment Council motion sheet, which includes $30,109,440 in other funds expenditure authority and 35 FTEs.
We have a motion by Representative Northrup, second by Representative Mucky. Discussion on the motion. Any discussions? Seeing none, Secretary call the roll.
Ms. Skimmons. Elk.
Aye.
Casson. Moore.
Aye.
Billhauer. Carly.
Aye.
Voida. Jorgensen. Howard. Foster. Sharda.
Aye.
Mucky.
Aye.
Zickman. Colbeck.
Aye.
Northrup.
Aye.
Lapke.
Aye.
Otten.
Aye.
Derby.
Aye.
17 yea, 1 absent.
Thank you. The motion to set the budgets for investment of state funds performance-based compensation hereby passes. And we have one more, the state auditor.
Mr. Chair, Joey Konopchinsky, LRC Fiscal. Like some of the other budgets we have seen today, no recommended changes by the agency or the governor. Same budget as last year.
Representative Mucky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recommend we approve the governor's recommended budget for the state auditor.
Representative Northrup.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move to set the budgets for the state auditor at the level detailed in the state auditor's motion sheet, which includes $1,937,695 in general funds and 17 FTEs.
We have a motion by Representative Northrup, seconded by Representative Mucky. Discussion on the motion. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, Secretary call the roll.
Ms. Skimmons. Elk.
Aye.
Casson. Moore.
Aye.
Billhauer. Carly.
Aye.
Voida. Jorgensen. Howard. Foster. Sharda.
Aye.
Mucky.
Aye.
Zickman. Colbeck.
Aye.
Northrup. Lapke.
Aye.
Otten. Derby.
Aye.
17 yea, 1 absent.
Thank you. Motion to set the budget for the state auditor hereby passes. Well, there we go. Thank you very much. Tomorrow, we will be doing the Departments of Military and Veterans Affairs, Secretary of State, Tribal Relations, Game Fish and Park, GOED, Governor's Office of Economic Development, and the Bureau of Information and Technology. That'll be tomorrow's budget setting. Is there anything else for the good of the cause? All good? Okay, I would entertain a motion. Motion by Representative Northrup, seconded by Representative Jorgensen to adjourn. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
SDPB brings you closer to your government. With gavel-to-gavel coverage of the South Dakota legislature and in-depth reporting from peer. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB. From early learners to lifelong students, SDPB inspires curiosity through trusted educational programs and resources for every stage of life. Good, useful, and full of wonder. SDPB.